God, I went down the wrong hole. Good morning, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. When that team came out yesterday, we all thought, you know what, it's a good team. We thought that Celtic might get a good result. We didn't expect Hibernian to sit back, and especially since David Gray's team in the past has kind of had a go at Celtic. But they have been shipping goals, and let's be fair, they played for a draw yesterday. But what it did do is it shown the inability of Celtic to change things up a bit. It did show the inability of Celtic to change things up a bit. So it got me asking the question this morning. Where does what's Michelle playing at this morning? Where do we go from here? It's always hard when Celtic drop points, and especially at home. Celtic Park's always one of those places that it brings the fear of life into players. It does bring the fear of life, the fear of God into players. But we played quite well the first half yesterday. I've got to say, I thought we played really well yesterday. In the first half. We just couldn't get that goal. We just couldn't get the goal. And then it brings in, people will say, well, I mean, it was good to hear Celtic Park like a complete library. And it was good to see Michael Nicholson getting some amount of stick. No, Michelle, you deleted them all. I don't know why you deleted them. Michelle's having one of those mornings. But yeah, there's always a negative connotation to when Celtic drop points. There always is. It's like the hell of earth has just opened up and consumed us with incoming devastation of dropping 2 points at home. But Celtic Park, I can remember under the Ronnie years, it was a bit similar. Now hear me out with this one, because it was a bit similar at Celtic Park. The team didn't seem to do fantastic at Celtic Park, but get them away from home and get that away travelling support, a smaller support that are a bit more enthusiastic throughout the 90 minutes, and the Celtic team tend to do a bit better. Now, I think we were unlucky yesterday. I mean, hitting the crossbar twice. If Callum McGregor, his shot from outside the box, Kelechi, you've got to say Arne Engels. There was a few players that were unlucky yesterday. Why did we revert back to? There's John the truck driving legend, and that's a cracking question this morning. Let me just get the comments up. If you've got any comments this morning, let's get them up. John the truck driving legend says, why did we revert back to the 4-3-3 and not keep it the 4-2-3-1? I've no idea, mate. I've no idea. And that's for Brendan Rodgers. So that's what got me asking in the poll this morning. We've had success with the people at the club. Kelechi, Mr. Sitter. I know there was quite a few that should have went in, but never. When you look at the people at the club, and the fans want change. Do you know, the fans do want change. Dyson's chucked it, yeah. As soon as I got off the live yesterday, I got messages from guys that were at the game, and they were like, we're going to get 3 million for Dyson Maida. We're going to get 3 million rather than 23 million. Dyson's went, I'm not putting in the effort. This club has done me over. Seems to be the impression that people are getting. And Rodgers subs lost us the game, says Craig. I'm not sure if the subs lost us. We didn't lose the game. We don't have a striker that can finish in an instant. Only problem, lack of goals. We lost 75 goals, and Kyogo, Adamida and Kun. Selling goals is costing points. We're only 6 games into the season, but already we've drawn 2 games. That is unheard of. Why has he deleted his account, mate? Okay, weird one. Sad. He was always a good person to come on. Anyway, I noticed that he said that he deleted his social media. I don't know. Sad. Well, we have a big loss to the community. Subs were pointless, broke the rhythm, but that happens every game, doesn't it? The one thing for sure, the collective need to rethink their priest nonsense isn't having any effect, says Jimbo. A lot of people are saying that it was effective, and I don't want to get into the fans collective thing this morning. I think that there's bigger things that we need to talk about rather than fan protest stuff. You got a text from him today. Well, I'm sure. I hope he keeps watching the channel, and hopefully we'll see him soon. That result's been coming for a while. Craig, that result is no surprise. I said it way before we went to Kazakhstan. I gave out the warnings before we went to Kazakhstan because I knew that this team would sit back. I knew that team would sit back, and Celtic struggle. We completely struggle. Anybody that watches Celtic now, just go park the bus at Celtic Park. Park the bus. They can't. Hibs were reluctant to get even near the halfway line. T1, I think, he's actually in better form than Kieran Tierney. He's not as good as Tierney. There needs a bit of work on his game, but I think there's a lot of problems at Celtic. And picking on players and picking on individual players is not the answer. We need to back the players that we've got. They may not be the best players. They're players that are getting past their sell-by date to a certain extent, and I'm starting to, even myself, the defence was brilliant, we're just push up front. Mark, the defence didn't really have anything to do for the majority of the game. This won't be the last 0-0 this season, 4 already, says Paul. Paul, you're right, and when it comes to teams playing at Celtic Park, more teams will come and they'll say, just sit between the halfway line and the box. Just flood that area, put 5-6 along the back. The rest of the team just sit in front. And Celtic can't break us down. They struggle. And it's up to Brendan Rodgers and the staff to fix that. Now, Brendan Rodgers doesn't take training every single day. He comes out and he sees what's going on. It's John Kennedy and the backroom staff. It's the same backroom staff that we had success under the previous manager. It's the same backroom staff that we had success under Brendan Rodgers the first time, apart from when was Strachan brought in? It was after Rodgers left, wasn't it? I mean, it's pretty much the same staff that we've had for a long time. Clubs can become stale, and everyone. I mean, I've been talking to guys that have been going to the football for a long time after what's been going on, and I mean, they're all fanatical fans that go to the game week in, week out, and they all want the best for the club. And as fans, we want us to get better. Are we even? We're not getting better. We seem to plateau. We get the levels up. I mean, when we brought in Kyogo, when we brought in Dyson, when we brought in Jota, we kind of leveled up a bit. But over the last 3 summers, I mean, 3 summers ago we brought in 9 players. We spent £7 million on 2 defenders that were woeful. Brendan Rodgers keeps coming out and saying that, talking about one player, and for instance, a winger that we've been chasing for 2 years. And let's face it, it's not brilliant. But Brendan Rodgers says, look, the stats from the recruitment team says that he can do it. He will fit in. Not everyone's going to hit the ground running like Tenecte, who wasn't great yesterday. Who's picking? It's more obvious than not now that it's not Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers tells the recruitment people, I need a player for this position. And I think that it's having an effect. I want an old school manager. Do you know, a manager that goes, I want that player. And that's it. None of this modern bullshit of, yeah, the recruitment team pick the people and they bring them to me and then they offer me these players. I don't want that for Celtic. If that's modern football, let me just see what Kieran's saying. Bobby Glint manager needs to be brought in after Rodgers walks. I don't think Rodgers will walk. I'm going to tell you now, we're in for a difficult season. I think that we'll still win the league. There's going to be times where you're thinking, this happened the last time Rodgers was here. You know, we don't have players. I think that the modern day football, I've said this before, the modern day football player gets any talent coached out of them, because players are coached to play the position. Do you know, I mean, Brendan Rodgers laughed and he said that Colby Donovan, he says he's a great player. He says, but I don't want him to overthink things. Because when he starts thinking, that's the issue. Well, that's the coaching side of it, isn't it? I mean, that's the coaches that say, you know, when you get into this, do this. So he needs to start thinking about what's getting coached now. Just play football. What happened to the good old days where players just played to their best of their ability and put in 110%? Because do you think there'll be an entire rebuild? Explain an entire rebuild. We just need to hope that Hearts do an Aberdeen this season like they did last season and drop off. Derek McInnes is manager, and I don't think that they will. I don't want to work. I don't even want to think about Hearts. We've got enough problems at the club when it comes to the recruitment team should be scouting for the academy. Exactly. Do you know, the recruitment team should only be bringing in. If Rodgers watches as much football as he says that he does, surely he should be able to identify a player and say, I want that player. He's what I need. Rather than going, well, the recruitment team have been watching Bal Shitter for 2 seasons. And they say that the stats are there. He'll come good. He's done it before. You know, the stats are there to show. And I don't want to hear my manager saying that. Honestly. I really don't want to hear the manager say that at all. Peter King says he was at the game yesterday. We made a lot of chances, but not taking them. Need a striker. Peter, that's nothing new. It's not new at all. We've known this since January when we sold Kyogo. We knew before January we needed a striker because Adam Ida wasn't giving us. Do you know, this isn't. As a football club, we seem reluctant to be forward thinking. And Brendan Rodgers has said, yeah, I'm sure the recruitment staff are working on the winter transfer window. They know the positions that we need to improve in. Blah, de blah, de blah, de blah, de blah. Our academy players need to be 22 before they get a game. Oh, yeah. This is very true. You're right, we're overcoached. Football used to be played on instinct and feeling. It is. And the modern game, People like John Kennedy, people like Strachan, who sits there on his laptop, not watching the game, but watching the laptop, watching numbers, watching stats. Get back to you. If you're good enough, you're old enough. Person missing from the backroom staff there will go downhill after Damien Hill left. There's plenty of good free agents out there. I don't think the free agents is really the answer. We need 2 right wingers because Yang and Forrest both need to go. That's unfair saying that Forrest needs to go after giving his entire career at Celtic. I'm not going down that road. No, Forrest has been a fantastic servant to the club, and he needs to see out the remainder of his contract. I'm not having anybody having digs at James Forrest because the guy's a living legend. The guy has saw throughout his career. James Forrest has seen better players come and go, and he's stuck by Celtic. Another player could have left Celtic years ago and went, oh, fuck this pish. But James Forrest has stuck by us as fans. You've got to give him that. Do you know, saying that he's pish. This is why young players move on. This is why young players coming through the system go, I don't want to fucking play for Celtic for $5,000 a week. Look at the fucking stick that the younger guys get if they're not up to scratch. Do you know what I mean? Nothing will change until the so-called custodians are ousted. It'll be a different manager going down the same board-guided path. Green Brigade and boys were brilliant at the stadium yesterday. We need to worry about ourselves, not Hearts Football Club. Poor players, not good enough manager. Tactics are crap. Clear out in the dugout needed, says Peter. Yeah, I've been an advocate of changing the backroom staff for a while. I know that Celtic like to keep things going and they have that one solid thing. And players like Kieran Tierney said when he walked back through the door, there was a lot of people still at the club that were here when he left. And it was just like he had never been away. Apart from the fact that his form's terrible when he's not the player that he used to be. Sometimes you need to change. I mean, there has been some changes in the backroom staff. Brendan has made. He has brought some of his own people in to try and make us better. But there's something not working, whether it be the players' attitude because they're not getting the moves they want. There's a number of things that is going on with Celtic at the moment. Pierre King says the atmosphere was okay. The silence doesn't have any sense. The board are not moving. We're getting a couple of Margaret game changes. Yeah, Duncan, we don't have players that can change games. Bal, shut up. Stop it. Well, he is. Do you know what? I'm all for giving players chances and opportunities to prove themselves. But Celtic scouted this guy for 2 years. So then you've got to be saying, for the manager to turn around and go, look, you know, the coaching guys, the recruitment guys said the stats on this guy is good. Stats is nothing. What was the stats on Lubo Moravcik? There were none, because there was no stats around when Lubo Moravcik was a player. Do you know? I mean, is Dr. Joe Venglo still alive? Because I'd rather bring him back as manager. Forrest is finished, Paz. No disrespect. I don't think he's finished, mate. I don't think he's finished. You've got to remember the standard of midfield players that he's played with throughout his career. And we'll all agree that the standard of midfield player at Celtic right now has been absolutely nothing compared to the standard of midfield player that James Forrest has had in the midfield throughout the majority of his career. I think that we could all agree on that. And the standard is nowhere near. I mean, when you think about people like Cummins, Joe Ledley, do you know they would walk straight into this team just now? Katie was good enough at the early age when we played them regularly, but it looks him now. Do we take a chance? Colby, do we nature? I think that he'll. It's different size, isn't it? Forrest comes with a $100 million price tag. Forrest is a legend like Kalmack. We need to feed strikers with good crosses from the wings, and we're not getting it. No, we're not. Ralston shouldn't be playing. Ralston had a first good half, or border prehistoric. We're becoming a very entitled fan base. Are we becoming an entitled fan base, or do you just want what's best for the club? There's a difference between thinking that we should win every single game, and that's the entitlement. There's a difference between wanting the club to be the best it can. So there's two kind of opposing views. There are the fans that think, yep, we need to win every single game, and then there's the side that say, no, I want the best for the club. Is that entitlement, or is that a realist? I think that I'd go down the realist route of, do you know, we see where we are, and we want us to be better. And if you think that we are better than what we were this time last year, you have a good look at yourself. If you think that we're entitled because we think we should win every game, and yeah, it's hard to win every game and tactics, but we are not the best we could have been. We are not as good as we were at the start of last season. You know, if you want to go down the whole stats route, you look at the stats and you could see that. Couldn't done that as yet. Please tell me why we made so many unnecessary changes yesterday that weren't needed. I think that Brendan Rodgers was just trying to change things up, trying to make something happen. Do you know, maybe trying to get time into players' legs. I don't know. The whole premise of the club was designed, it's not only the manager that changes. Sell the Japanese players. Tenecte and Marcelo played well yesterday, says Mark. I think so. Tenecte was a bit unlucky. They're starting to double up on him, so they know how good he is. But then it comes down to the midfield. Do you know, you've got to have good wingers. Top quality wingers need top quality midfield players. Because it's the top quality midfield players that sees, I've just seen Tenecte going that way. I don't need to turn, take a couple of steps, and then get the ball to him. I can just go, boom, stop, and ball, and get it straight to him. Is that the quality of player? And is this ultimately, are we in the midst of managed decline? Standard of the player dropping away down. Something that I've talked about before. And I think that we are. I think that we're in a period of managed decline at the club to keep the profitability of the club at what is. Got to give it to the players more than one or two games before judgment. These guys, like I know, it's Neil's time to settle in your country, in your language, in your club, style of play, lifestyle, etc. Yeah, I get that. But if you've tracked a player for 2 years, surely you know the mentality of the player, and you hopefully have spoken to him a couple of times over those few years, out with a direct route, spoke to his agent and stuff to get the mindset of the player. But anyway, hopefully they do come good. I mean, the game wasn't that bad yesterday. There was a lot of good to take out the first half. Do you know that? I'm not saying 1 minute that we played terrible. We didn't. It was fast attacking football. There was no side to side stuff. We didn't slow the game down too much in the first half. But Hibs set their stall out. And they were like, well, we're not going to move. We know that you struggle. So they've got the question asked, and we've had 131 votes already. Who do we really need to change at the club? Is it the board? Is it the manager? Is it the backroom staff? Or is it all of them? And it's an interesting, some results. We'll give that we'll give that till the end of the video. Till we do it. A lot of draws and blanks this season. We play Sevco. There isn't much in it anymore. I just feel Forrest is lacking and his play can be a bit predictable at times. Says Michelle. Good old James Forrest used to go down the wing and cut inside and take a shot. But he's struggling to take the shot now because you've got so many players in the box. You've got to think about the way that teams set up. And this is what we're struggling to... Don't know, it's anti-football. Let's call it what it is. After scouting a player for 2 years doesn't actually mean they'll set up quick at a club. No, it doesn't. But Rodgers begged Kennedy to stay. Every manager has come and gone. Kennedy wanted to go with him. The guy's an amazing coach. So what's went wrong then, Big Rab, with John Kennedy? Because he's the man that coaches them since Ange Postecoglou. Ange Postecoglou stood on the media, sat on the media and said, I don't do training. I leave all that to John and the backroom staff. They take care of everything for me. I just come out, check the players. Brendan Rodgers does the same. So what is the difference between under Ange Postecoglou, playing 4-3-3, fast attacking football, and now everybody's saying it's the manager. It's the manager that's at fault. But if the manager's not doing the training and the tactics and everything else, if there's the continuity, good old Dr. Joe Venglos saying, continuity. If there's the continuity at the club with John Kennedy, and John Kennedy's taking the training and doing and everything else, what is then going wrong? Because it can't be the manager. It can't be the manager. Give Forrest another deal, says Jimbo. I don't think Forrest will get another deal, but Ralston is shite, should not be playing. Donovan is far better, says Peter King. Yeah, but you don't want to happen to Donovan what's happened to Kieran Tierney, and put him in and play him every single game and make him run 100 miles an hour. I know they're different types of players, but look what's happened to Kennedy, to Tierney. Sorry. You don't want that. Johnson and Jota are real blows. Yeah, they are, but say they were sold. Say they had been sold. Because that will happen. And I think that it'll be the next manager that gets the benefit of Jota. It's not going to be the current manager. Hope Kennedy doesn't step into Brendan's slot. God forsake that ever happens. Is Trusty injured? Yes. He was back in training on Friday. Need this in Forrest, but he's been posting missing for a large part of his Celtic career. Go back to Ange. He hardly played but picked up 5 medals. But that's because we had better wingers in. You could say that about his entire career. Celtic always go out and get other wingers. You can't diss a guy that... Look at all the wingers that's been at Celtic since James Forrest came through that have been better than James Forrest. He could have went at any time, but he decided not to. You know, you talk about you want young players to come through and be the heart and soul of the club, but then when one does stick around, he stayed too long. Fucking shite. I think some of the fans have stayed too long. Kidding. Mark says, played some really good football yesterday at times, yet again, despite being a bit unlucky. We were toothless in front of goal. Do you really think that Iheanacho is good as a player? Well, I'm good. I'm not so sure. After pushing Bayern all the way last season to can't even beat, that's why the fans are pissed off. Mark, I still think it is unbelievable. The warning signs were there. The warning signs were there before we even played that game against the team from Kazakhstan. Anybody that watched the round that they played before it, do you know, Celtic didn't think they were going to be going to Kazakhstan because the team that they were playing before it should have beat them. But Kara Almaty played the exact same way in that game, and it went to penalties and they won. And then they played the exact same game against Celtic. And we, as fans, I mean, me and Michelle watched that game. We done a watch along for that game, and it was there for everyone to see the way that we're playing. Roger's saying we were excellent, so I take it we must have won 5-0 then. Greenock boy here. Luke needs to stay in the team. He's just class, and then we'll get even better with a run. I think so, Jim. He's not top European level player, but for the league, he's a player that can grow and get better with a good league run. I think he needs to use more than good. Nobody wins 38 games last year. Well, Celtic have before. Last year we packed in 4 months. Just hoping after the first half yesterday the form is returning. I hope so. We've gone backwards, it's that simple. We just need to bash out wins till after January and get a striker, a right winger that can transformers. I think we need transformers in the team, to be honest. It's always the same. Every time that Celtic drop points, we're always really negative about it. And you know, sliding down. Jota is the bollocks. It's the best winning muster. You've got to admit. I mean, I think that the game was a good game yesterday. You can't deny that. The first half, the first 50, 60 minutes. Do you know, it was for the first. When was the last time? So here's taking the positive. Let's change the thinking to a positive one. When was the last time in a game that we had 3 attempts on goals in the first 10 minutes? I'm just saying. When was the last time in a game that we had 3 attempts on goal in the first 10 minutes? There was a lot of positives to take out the first half. Do you know, I thought that even during the minutes, the 12 minutes silence, I thought that the team, you know, they blocked out the silence. They got on with it. They tried to get the game going. And if we had scored in the first 12 minutes, the stadium would have erupted. And I think that would have completely ended the silence then. I don't think the rest of the fans would have went back into a silence. I don't know. The refugees had a great time above the Green Brigade thanks to the Celtic Foundation, says Jim. That was good that happened. Jota and Tanetti, yeah, I think that we're going to have to wait. The second half of it's going to be a toil. I think that we can all see that it's going to be a struggle between now and the time that Jota comes back. And I hope that when Alistair Johnston comes back, that Alistair Johnston ups his game. I mean, I think for the first 20 minutes yesterday, I thought that the Bricky actually done well. I actually thought he'd done well, but then he just kind of ran out a bit. But that could have been because of his injury and because he's been out for so long. Anyone putting a run 34 wins together now has a chance of winning this league. Yes, this is true. Manager at fault for me. has been from last season. No backup plan. What did Hibs offer yesterday? Nothing. 11 men behind the ball. George, you're right. And no other manager has had to deal with that. And this is the point that I'm trying to make. I mean, people say Angie's team did. Angie's team, look at how many goals Angie's team hit on the break. We're now seeing a completely different level of football manager mentality where it's, let's just sit back at Celtic Park and we'll just have a go for the last 10 minutes. If it's still 0-0 with 10 minutes to go, we have a go. Because if you get a goal, they've got to try and score two, and that becomes harder in the last 10 minutes. We need a little bit of dig in the middle of it. Physically needed. Yes. Robertson was poor yesterday, letting them waste time. Yeah, it was. Going down. Yeah, some of the fouls and some of the sportsmanship of the Hibs players was terrible. I mean, the Hibs player he hits, the ball hits him in the face and he goes down like he's been hit by a sniper. Celtic and Rangers too busy obsessing over each other. Meanwhile, the other teams have strengthened unnoticed. That could only be a good thing for the league then. Pressure drop. But Celtic always go through this period of managed decline. Historically, we always manage to do it. Rodgers doesn't do good in the third or fourth seasons. He won't get a fourth season, Craigie White. I cannot see. I do not think that Brendan Rodgers. I'm now convinced that Brendan Rodgers will see out his contract and he won't be here next season. The fans won't want him here next season. The board will manufacture. This is how I see it going. The board might give Brendan some money to buy players in the next window, but it will be club bought players, with the view of to what's going to happen in the summer. And I think that we can all see what's happening. I think that the board will just struggle along and do what they can to get through this season, and then they'll parade a new manager with a new, all shining bells, whistles, fucking, and they'll go into, and they'll hope that wave of excitement with a new manager will take away, and the new wave of players that come in, a new style of football, they will hope that will take away any negative connotations to them sitting up in their perches in the main stand. And I think that that's what we're seeing playing out this year. I think that Brendan has already told the board that he's not going to be here after his contract expires. I think Brendan Rodgers is playing a double-edged sword by when he's getting asked, is there a contract being offered to you, Brendan? Nah, there's nothing changed. Meanwhile, the board are sitting going there, you fucking snake bastard. You know that you've already told us that you're not going to be here next season. It's happened once before, and I think it's happened this time. That's my own instincts to it now. I mean, I did say that Brendan would stay the 3 years, and I think that he is only going to stay the 3 years, and he's going to play it this season. It's the board's fault. The board never got me what I wanted. The board never got me the players that I wanted. And I think that that's the way that he will play out the season. And then it will get towards the end of the season, and he will say, "Look, there's a gap. There's a gap between where I want to take the club and what the board want to do. So we're going to decide to part ways smoothly. Sayonara. I'm off to Palma to sit and have a year off." Clark and Maloney, no, Jesus, please no. I can see Maloney or Scott Brown next season. It won't be Scott Brown. It'll never be Scott Brown. Maloney, I could see there has to be something. There's no smoke without fire. Maloney's not been brought into Celtic to piss about at some mediocre level appointment. I don't understand that one. There has to be something. There's something going on with that. Maloney doesn't go from assistant manager, international assistant manager, to pathway manager. I mean, you'd be as well going from CEO to trigger as janitor. I don't get it. There has to be there's a bigger picture playing out in the background at Celtic, and this is what we're not getting. And I think Sean Maloney is part of that bigger picture in the long term. He will not be manager, but I think that he will be assistant to some manager. We shouldn't believe all the spin coming from Brendan Rodgers. He's a spin merchant, nothing more. Come on, Paul. Morning, Stephen Johnson. Maloney need a booster seat in the dugout. Celtic team drops points. Shocker. Anyway, in the poll, we've had 178 votes. Let's see if we can get up to 200, because there's been enough people online to get it. There's been over 700, near enough 800 people online this morning. Let's get this vote up to 200 votes. Who do we really need to change? The board is at 45%, the manager is at 7%, the backroom staff is at 10%, or all of them 38%. And it's a serious conversation that I want. I mean, I know that the Celtic Collective are talking about getting rid of the board, but I think that there's a wider... Getting rid of the board, it's hard to do, and yes, I think that maybe Lawwell may be the one that leaves, but I think that there's bigger things that the club need to do to achieve, to take us just to that next level. I think that we've plateaued as a club, and we've hit a limit, and sometimes as an organisation, put it this way, right? If Celtic were a tech company, right, and you've got these people that have been here for 20 years with this tech company, and they've taken it to a certain level. The people at the top of the club will see that they've plateaued, and the share price is kind of there, and it's like we've hit a ceiling, and they would make changes within the organisation. They would know that, I've took this as far as I can, so the manager goes. But then you have to think, well, maybe the board needs something changed in it. Maybe there needs to be a rethink. That's not going to happen because of the people that are in there. And if it does happen, what is the question that needs to also be asked or answered by the Celtic Fans Collective is, well, what is change? I know that you want rid of the board, but what does getting rid of the board, what's the reality of that? What does that look like? I know that there are people that are trying to get enough shares to stop Dermot Desmond to be able to sell his share. He's not going to sell his shares. I mean, there's a lot of things that work in cogs to the football club, and there's things that you could change and adapt that could give you bigger increment in the results. And it's a results game, as Callum McGregor says. So by not changing the backroom staff, there's that continuity for the players, but sometimes change is good. And when you can manage change in an organisation, and this is the people at the top that need to do this. The people at the top need to grab a set of balls. If they want to keep their positions on the board, they need to. If they were to turn around tomorrow and go, do you know what, fuck it, Brendan Rodgers, you're fucking doing our head in, just go just now, because we need to change things, we need to make things better. Kennedy, Strachan, backroom staff, fucking go, because you've plateaued as you've took us as far as you can. You don't seem to be able to get players to up that level quick enough. There's lots of things that you could come out and say, and maybe changing that maybe be good enough. I don't know. Just thinking out loud. But anyway, so that led to the vote. There's 187 votes. Who do you really need to change? The board, the manager, the backroom staff, or them all? I would say them all, to be honest. I'm at the stage now where, and this isn't entitlement, it's about understanding the workings of an organisation and how to make that organisation better. And the people at the top of the club are holding the club back in that sense. So getting rid of them would be one thing, but then who do you bring in? And what way do they want to run? When you change the hierarchy, it could be the worst thing ever to maybe happen, because a new hierarchy comes in and goes, we need some stability. We need some stability within the club. So they then go down the road of, well, we need to keep the backroom staff, because that's the one continuous thing that will keep the club running in the one direction. You know, if you have overall change, if you have change at the top, you can't have change in the middle right now, because that may affect too many things. Don't know. Hopefully the new Battlefield will produce a better youth player. Doesn't give her the game time. We're not being too harsh on Rodgers considering what's been going on behind the scenes. We didn't lose yesterday, but playing negative clean sheet tactics. I don't think we were playing negative clean sheet tactics. I think we were playing against a team that were playing negative clean sheet tactics. Listen, if two of these shots that went in yesterday, the two that hit the bar, if they go in, right, you've got a striker that hits the crossbar. If that hits the underside of the bar and goes in, game on. You've then got a player that's came in for Kieran Tierney. He takes a shot. Wicked shot. That hits the top of the crossbar. If that hits the underside and goes in, different game altogether. You've then got Callum McGregor, who takes a shot for outside the box. All what we've been calling for. If Callum puts a bit of swerve on that ball, bit of curve on it, bit of Paul Lambert stuff, hits it with the outside of his foot rather than lace the boot right through the middle of his laces. Hits it with the outside Paul Lambert style. We've seen Paul Lambert do that against Rangers. Ball, oof, into the top corner, a little bit of spin on it, just going away from the keeper. It's levels though, isn't it? I mean, where do you tell me where you rate Paul? Tell me this in the comments. Where do you rate Paul Lambert against Callum McGregor, both captains of Celtic? Who do you rate better, Paul Lambert or Callum McGregor? I'll go for Paul Lambert all day long. Paul Lambert, I mean, as much as I like Callum as a player and the fact that he's came through the system, Paul Lambert won the Champions League. That's the difference in class. He lost players months ago. People saying that a lot of the fans are giving Rodgers a free run, in my opinion. Playing Ralston over Donovan, done it for me. Playing his favourite to the detriment of the team. No, because I can understand why Brendan's done that, and he explained why he did it in the press conference. You knew that he was going to drop Donovan yesterday. He's went from B team level to first team level to European level, and he's also played 2 international youth games for Scotland over the space of about a month and a bit. If you go playing B team level to doing all that in such a short space of time, look at Tierney and the injuries Tierney's had. I'm all for bringing in youth players, but you need to manage the game time of a youth player. Like Barcelona, they don't throw in their young prodigy for 90 minutes. They manage his game time. They know when to wrap him up in cotton wool. They know when to take him off. They're not taking him off because he's having a bad game. They don't leave him out of the team because he's having a bad game. They're managing the time of the player because they know that they've got a long career. And if they want to get the best out of that player, you don't throw them in at the deep end at a young age. Talking shite, Calmac all day long. Not a chance. Baz of Martinez contract with Portugal ends in the summer. Is already number 2's Maloney's here. Yep, I've already said that. Kelechi could have had a hat trick. Yeah, he could have. Lambert won the European Cup. Exactly. Lambert won the European Cup. Champions League. It's the same cup, isn't it? No competition, although Paul playing in a star-studded side. Yep. Talking shite, Calmac all day long. Celtic 1961 was definitely not born in 1961 if he says Calmack all day long. Tierney is a backup player. He's an expensive backup player on just under 50 grand a week. An expensive, way expensive. But if that's a backup player, people, but wait a minute here. Whoa. Right. Adam Ida was a backup player. He cost 9 million. So Tierney cost nothing. But Tierney is a £25 million player. And we're accepting that as a backup player? Not a chance. Not a chance. John the Truck Driving Legend says Lambert versus Calmack. I'll go for Stephen Bones. Lambert lost his teeth and dusted himself down. No, you're thinking about who played alongside him, who used to take his teeth out. Craig Burley. It was Craig Burley who had the falsers in. Neither Roy Aitken in midfield. Roy Aitken was a defender, but I know what you're saying. Mark, the midfield needs chips in with goals. The midfield used to chip in with goals. We used to have players like Matt O'Reilly. Look at the amount of goals that he scored for Celtic midfield. We don't even have a replacement for Matt O'Reilly, which is the sad reality of where we really are as a club at the moment. Lambert Baz, do you think we would start McGregor, Benji or Bernardo? I'd like to say start Bernardo, but I don't think that it does. I mean, he's better at going forward. I think that the holding midfield position isn't the issue. We're looking at it as the issue because Calmack is not getting the passes. I think it's the midfielders, the attacking midfielders that are the issue. I just don't think that the quality of previous incumbents of those positions. I think that's the easiest way to put it. They're not as good as Matt O'Reilly. Nowhere near it. They don't play the game as good. Midfield should be Bernardo, Calmack, Engels. Yeah, Calmack further forward. I always thought it was weird that we put Calmack back into the holding midfield role. He was never a holding midfield player. He was always on the left. But anyway, we're not going to get a reduced start at home. What's the point? Tony Ralston shouldn't be at the club. Never mind starting. You've just okay. Engels, are you sure? Alberts was a horrible fucking bat. Yeah, it was that. I would play Engels, Benji and Bernardo, try and freshen it up. But then that would have been an ideal game yesterday. We tried to freshen it up in the midfield and it didn't work. I mean, I'm surprised the manager didn't turn around and say, look, poof. It shows you how much we're missing Rio Hatate. Anyway, right, we've been going for 50 odd minutes now. Let's finish up the poll. We're at 211 votes. Quiet Sunday morning, as expected, when Celtic dropped points. Finish the poll. What do we really need to change? The board, the manager, the backroom staff, or them all? And we all guess who got the biggest vote. The board. Poll finished up. Who do we really need to change? The manager, 7%. Quite surprised at that one. The backroom staff, 9%. Them all, 38%. The board, 46%. So if it's not the manager's fault, whose is it? It's obviously the board. For not giving Brendan Rodgers the players that he needs. I would start playing 3-5-2 or go back to 4-4-2 because we need a change in formation badly. But I've been saying this for a while. I thought when we were in pre-season and Brendan Rodgers changed it to the 3-5, the 4-2-3-1, sorry, I thought we were in for an exciting season. And he's reverted back to the 4-3-3. Do you know, bringing And taking Kieran Tierney and trying to play him in the Greg Taylor role is not getting the best out of Kieran Tierney. And I think that that's ultimately why as well. Because Kieran Tierney was a good old-fashioned player that played in the full-back position and went up and down the wing. He didn't come in midfield. And I think that, it is what it is. We also need to change the meat and pies to actual meat. Katie was a 25 million. You will never get that from now. Well, he's on a 5-year contract. He won't be leaving Celtic ever. He'll finish his game, his playing time at Celtic. Anyway, we might be back on later on this afternoon. I might do a little Zoom chat, get some of you in. Stephen Johnston, fantastic for the super chat. Stephen, thanks for that. Yeah, I might do a Zoom call later on, get some of you on just to see what he's saying about the current situation and how do we go forward ultimately as a club, and what does the manager need to do to get us playing a little bit more. I mean, what does it really change? We need strikers. We need a good striker, and that's it at the end of the day. On that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans. Wherever, come on, Livy, let's do it. Fucking who cares about Livy today? Just not in the mood for that. Don't even think I'll watch the game. Anyway, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are all around the world.